Hey FlossTube, this is Brian. Welcome back. This is my 63rd FlossTube video, and I plan on sharing with you what I have been stitching for the past 3 weeks. Yes, 3 weeks, it's been a while, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But first of all, I want to welcome you. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope that you enjoy the things that I have to share with you. If you are returning, thank you for coming back and spending time with me and watching my videos. I really appreciate it. I continue to gain subscribers, and I crossed the 4,000 mark a couple weeks ago. I am planning a giveaway to celebrate having 4,000 subscribers. So look for that in the upcoming video. I've had a great time these past 3 weeks. Part of the reason why I couldn't film is that I was up in Utah and Idaho. I drove up with my son to help him move into his apartment at university, and then we went to visit my parents and spent some time with them. And it was really nice. My parents live in rural southeastern Idaho. If you watch Caroline off the grid Needleworks, you know they have a cottage on an island in the Great Lakes, and my parents have a ranch in a valley, and it is kind of isolated. And it's a wonderful place for me to go if I want to recharge and kind of get away from the world. They have internet, but it's kind of spotty and not very good, so it kind of forces you to disconnect from the world a little bit. And I really needed that. I really needed to just kind of relax for a little bit, and it was really nice to be at my parents'. The next week, my wife drove up with my youngest, who is also starting at university, and I spent that week in Salt Lake helping get my daughter ready for university. We had a lot of things that we still had to buy for her, and then of course we had to move her in and get her all situated. So when we came back last Saturday, and came back to a pretty quiet house, and it's been kind of different, and it's been kind of different to not have everybody around. Anyway, I had 2 weeks of vacation, and then I've been back at work this week, and it's I can tell that the vacation was really good because I was ready to come back to work. So it's been a great time. Of course, I was traveling on Saturdays, and there was just no way I'd be able to make a video. But I'm glad to be back and share with you what I've been doing the past week. Before I do that, I would like to respond to some questions. I've had several people ask me questions since my last video, and I just want to respond to some of them. First of all, Glory Khart asked me, do my wrists and hands get pain when I stitch? And the answer is not really. Yeah, I stitch like 2 or 3 hours a night, sometimes depending on when I start, sometimes even a little bit more. And my wrists and arm, I don't really get any pain from stitching. I did about 3 or 4, I guess a couple of months ago, my hands started to hurt a little bit, and I kind of decided that it was because of I changed the angle that I was stitching at a little bit, and since then I don't really have any problems with that. So Glynis Gaffney asked me, is it possible to show us sometime how you go about setting up a new project, including framing up? I think I'll try to do that the next time I start something. I don't know how successful I'll be. I'll try it and see what happens. Part of the problem is that my frame is so big, I don't know that I would, with the with the setup that I have, I'm not sure that I would be able to get everything in the view of my camera to be able to show you, but I'll give it a try. I think I've done that once before, not putting it in the frame, but I've done how I start a new project with how I start in the middle and count down to a corner. And if I can find that video, I will put a link to it in the notes below. So you can kind of see how I start, how I decide where to put in the first stitch. But I don't think I show how to put things in my frame. Of course, my frame is an Omanip Quantum frame, and that frame's really easy to load. The hardest part is getting everything situated so that you can get the tension you want with the scroll bars spaced at where you want them to be spaced. And I can try to show you that the next project that I work on. Andrea, I Heart Cross Stitch. Hi, Andrea. She asked me. I was talking about Queen Anne's lace, and you're going to see a little bit more of Queen Anne's lace today. And I had mentioned that I was the metallic. I was using Kreinik cord, and she corrected me. And I looked, and I'm actually using Kreinik Braid. I don't know if they sell cord, but I'm using braid. She says she doesn't have any trouble with it fraying, and yeah, sometimes maybe it's the direction that I'm pulling the floss through the fabric, but there are times where the ends start to fray a little bit. It doesn't really cause me any problems other than it makes it so I only want to thread my needle with the strand once, because it gets really hard if I have to rethread. Under the Willow asked me, I keep thinking I've seen all your projects, and then something I've never seen before comes out. Do you have a whip count? And she asked me how many projects I have. Right now I have 6 whips, and I had a couple of pieces that I have started that I hadn't worked on for a while. Those are all taken care of now. So I have 6 whips. There's a 7th, which is Automagic, which I have put aside, and I still don't see myself picking it up again. So it's kind of hanging out there, but I'm saying I have 6. I have a couple of other projects that I have never told you about that I started a long time ago, and for one reason or other decided that I needed to restart them. I still need to restart them. So you may see them some other time, you may see them in the future, but they won't be partially stitched. They'll look like a brand new start to you. So 6 whips. And in fact, well, yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, last question. With all of your large projects, how do you organize your threads and needles? This was asked me by Terry Falwell. And Terry, this question kind of made me laugh a little bit, and you'll see why. My needles, I just use the same needle over and over again until it gets so tarnished that it really starts to bug me, and then I switch to a new needle. So I don't have a bunch of needles just sitting around in different projects. I just move my needles from one project to another as I work on them. My threads, well, I'll show you this. I have a box for each of the projects that I'm working on, and I use bobbins. So I have a box that has all my materials. This is my box for Queen Anne's lace. You'll see I have a label on it so that I know what project it belongs to, so I don't forget. And I think I mentioned before, I've gotten to the point that I'm kind of putting my floss on bobbins as I go. So before I have my project ready to stitch, I put everything, all the supplies for it in a plastic bag, usually one of those gallon Ziploc bags. And then I've started, just as a new color comes up on my chart, I pull it out and put it on a bobbin so that I can start right away and not have to worry about winding floss on bobbins for a night or two. So this is my bag for Queen Anne's lace. You'll see there's still, there are some colors that I need more than one skein of, so there's extra colors in here, and some of the colors that I haven't used. So I have it in this, so this and this is what I use with my supplies. So generally I just gather floss and supplies for a project as I get ready to stitch it. Okay, the floss that isn't assigned to a project, it's like this. And this is all of my DMC. This is Anchor. I think I have a little bit of Anchor floss. And then this is like classic Colorworks and Gentle Arts. Here's some more DMC. So I just have it in. I don't organize it. And if I run out of a color and I need to go buy a new color, I try to remember to sort through this bag to find the color I need before I go buy it. So, yeah, not very organized. This is also my Ship's Manor floss, and I thought I'd show you this just because if you remember a month ago, I did a collaboration talking about Ship's Manor floss. If you haven't seen that, go ahead and check it out again. Erik, as part of that collaboration, Erik allowed me to make a floss pack. So there is a blitstitch floss pack on his website, and he actually he was kind enough to send me my own blitstitch floss pack. So these are the colors that are in the floss pack, and I talk about them a little bit more in that video, so you can go check it out. So anyway, I thought I'd show you again. It's available on his website, and I'll put a link to it down below as well. Okay, so a couple of other things before I talk about what I'm working on. My daughter took an interest in one of the charts that I showed, one of the charts that I gave away in my last video, and that was the Happy Camper chart. I don't even have it to show you because I gave one copy away and she has the other, and she's 800 miles away. Anyway, she's working on Happy Camper, and she sent me a picture. I'm gonna post it so that you can see her progress. She's really enjoyed working on it, and she is a little bit more adventurous than I am when it comes to colors. She just asked me, she just said, "Dad, can I see your floss?" So I got out my bag of floss and gave it to her, and she went looking through it to look for the colors that were called for. I didn't have all of the colors that were in that chart, so she and her sister went through the colors that I did have and substituted out colors. So the colors in her are a little bit different from those that are charted, but I think it really looks good. She just has, I think, the bottom border to stitch, and she'll be finished with it. I guess she stitched on it all the way on the drive up to Utah. She stitched on it the couple weeks before she left for Utah. And I don't know she's in school now, so who knows how much time she'll have to stitch, but this is how far she's gotten so far. So I thought I would share that with you as well. One last thing, I have somebody that I would like to shout out. Her name is Brenda, and she has started making floss tube videos with her friend Laura. And I have been following her on Instagram for a very long time. On Instagram, she is known as Brenda Sampler Stitcher. And I have always been interested in seeing the samplers that she stitches. And she has kind of made me want to do more samplers. So I'm excited to see her and Laura start making videos. Their channel name is Brenda and the Serial Starter. I'll put a link to their channel below. You should really go check them out. They have one video and they show some really neat stuff. Okay, Well, let's get started talking about what I've been working on. Like I say, I'm really excited to share this with you. I guess I had somebody say, what's happened to your graphs? So I'll just show you a couple of graphs to kind of show you what these last 3 weeks have been like. And the first one I'm going to show you is a graph of the number of starts that I've had for the year. This is my start trend. You'll see I've had 7 starts. That's because I've kind of counted, well, I've had this last 2 weeks, I've had more starts. And if you look at my finish trend, you'll see that I now have, I think it's 4. If my graph says something different, forgive me. I think I've had 4 finishes because I have 3 finishes to show you, and I'm really excited to do that. So we'll start with what I was working on the last video I made, and I said I would finish this. And I've been working on I've been working on Beautiful Sea. It's a design by Erik Shipley. He originally did it as a mystery stitch along 2 years ago or so. And he provided the floss for it and the design over a certain amount of time. At the time, I started working on it, but I put it up, and as you know, if you've been watching, I picked it up again to finish it. And I did finish it. So this is my finished piece. This is stitched on 28 count brown sugar from Under the Sea Fabrics, which is a golden brown, it's a golden brown color. And you can see all of the motifs. Yeah, I'm really happy to get this finished. I just had a couple more days. I think the day I made the video, I finished it that night. So basically what I finished since the last time you saw it was in this corner down here, and it went really fast. So I just love the colors in this. They are bright, and I really like them. Especially the blue. I really like the blue. So I'll give you a little bit closer look, just so that you can see all the motifs. So yeah, this fish is kind of fun. The starfish, I like these as well. My favorite motif of all is the octopus. He was really fun to stitch. So yeah. Yeah, I really like this, and I'm glad that I finished it. Feels good to have it finished. It's not weighing on my conscience every time I pull out my box of pieces. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. So that's my first finish. And then in my last video, I said, basically, I decided to take small stuff because I didn't have a lot of room for packing stuff. I couldn't take my big projects to Idaho because of circumstances. So I stitched a couple of small pieces, and the first piece that I stitched, this is a design by I stitched a couple of pieces out of the Hometown Holiday series by Little House Needleworks. And this is the first one that I stitched. I showed you this in my last video. It was partially stitched. I finished this. So this is my second finish. This fabric is 30 count Northern Cross natural linen. I don't think it's available anymore. I don't think it's being made anymore. But I have enough of it to be able to stitch all of the designs in the series on it. So this is my first one. This is My House, is what it's called. And of course, it's just a picture of a house. It's snowing. There's a wreath up here. And the chart gives you a place to put your name and a border. I decided I didn't want to stitch that because I wanted to I thought that that would make it a little bit different from the other pieces in the series. So I took out what I had stitched as a border and just called it good. And I really like this. I like it better without the border actually. So I'm really happy with this. And then I started and finished the second in the series. This is called Main Street Station, or I like to call it I like to call it Holy Ecru Batman because of all of this ecru in this station house. Yeah, I had a hard time with that ecru. And somebody on Instagram said, "Your ecru looks so wonderful," and I don't think it does, but I did my best with it. So this is the second in the series. I really like it. I've seen this before, but I had never noticed that there was a guy here waving to the engineer on the engine of the train until I actually stitched it. And I like the wreath up here and the trees. I think this really looks really cool. So yeah. So that's my third finish and my 7th start for the year. And I had one more night to stitch on one of these, and I considered starting another one, but I decided I didn't want to. I've enjoyed stitching these. They just don't really speak to me because they're so small. I mean, yeah, it's finished, but I don't get the sense of accomplishment that I get when I finish something big. And they're not really complicated. I mean, I didn't even stitch these diagonally. I just stitched them as they came. So I just didn't want to even go through I don't know if hassle's the right word, but I didn't want to stitch them diagonally. So that kind of makes it so you have all of this fill to do in this house, and that fill, it can kind of get to me because all you're doing is the same thing over and over again. Anyway, so I am debating about whether or not to put the Hometown Holiday series on my list of things to do. I have several more that I could stitch. We'll see how I feel when I get through the end of this rotation, if I'm going to put it on. Yeah, I like stitching them, but they're not really a priority for me, I guess. Okay, so, and then this week, since we've been home, I have been working on this pattern. And if you'll remember, this is what I spun on my wheel. I've been working on Queen Anne's lace. This is a design by Marilyn Levitt Emblem of Lavender and Lace. Of course, it's a pretty old design. It was around in the 90s. And I'll show you where it was the last time you saw it. I am stitching this on 32 count dirty linen. I think that's the name of it. And I have really enjoyed working on this. I'm using the called for DMC, and then there's Kreinik number 4 metallic braid in 2 colors as well. And this has been really fun to stitch. This is what it looks like now. So it's really, I think it's really starting to take shape. I will be, I think the next couple of times through, when I get over to the corner over here, then it'll really start to look good. But you can see I've hit this bow over here, and there's flowers pinned to the bow. And this is so far this is the most complicated part of the design that I've stitched. Most everything else is blocks of color. So It's really easy to stitch for me as I work down this way, because I should say it's really fast, because I can stitch one color after another in the block that I'm working on and not have to thread and re-thread my needle, so things go really quite quickly. I can't do that up here. This is a little bit more confetti heavy. And I really like these colors. These look yellow, but they're not really yellow. It's kind of funny. I've shown a perfect setting. That's the picture of the big house. That's the Barbara and Sherilyn design. I've decided that this blue is the same blue that's the color of the house. And the yellow in here is the same color as the yard around the house. Which is so it kind of has the same color palette, which is kind of interesting. So I really don't mind even stitching this, because it's not as yellow as I thought it was going to be. I don't really appreciate stitching with yellow. But anyway, and what really makes this cool, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see the sparkle, but is this braid. You have the Vatican gold braid in the blue with this diamond pattern and along the bottom. That's really, and then you've got this antique gold Greek cross pattern that's in the yellow of her dress. And just adding that in, that just makes everything so wonderful. And yeah, so it looks a lot better in person than it does on camera, because I don't think that the camera will pick up the sparkle quite as well. I'm trying to move it around to see if, yeah, maybe, see if I can show you some sparkle. Anyway, I'm really happy with what I was able to stitch. I basically finished the diagonal that I was working on, and then I stitched 2 more diagonals. Halfway point across the bottom is right here, so I'm more than halfway across the bottom. Halfway to the top is right about here, so I'm getting about halfway there as well. So this is it's a big piece, but it seems to be going pretty quickly. My spreadsheet predicts that I could finish this in 2 months if I worked on it exclusively. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. I'm really happy with what I've been able to accomplish, and I'm looking forward to working on it again. Okay. Now's the time we get to see what I'm going to work on next week. So I'm going to pull up my Tiny Decisions app. So the wheel is not remembering long enough. It's not remembering its state. So I am going to spin the wheel. If it comes up with something that I have already stitched in this rotation, I'm going to spin again, because I want to work through my entire rotation. So here we go, we're spinning. I get to do a new start. It says I get to do a new start. Okay. And I've been wondering what I would choose if that was going to happen. And I think as of right now, so I have the Queen sampler. I am still waiting for some floss on that. That's what I would really like to start, but I don't want to start it until I have all the materials, and there's some of the floss is still on back order. So I'm not going to start the Queen sampler. I will probably start it when I get my materials. I think I'm going to start 101 alphabets. The reason why is I said that I was going to stitch that a long time ago. Of course, that's a design by Rosewood Manor. You'll see it here. I have wanted to start this for a while. Actually, I've seen some people start to stitch it, and when I see them stitching it, it makes me want to work on it. So I think that's what I'm going to start. if I start something different. You may be surprised next week. But so yeah, I know I've got to really think about what I'm going to start. So that's kind of exciting. So anyway, that's all I have today for you. I hope that you, as always, thank you for your comments. Thank you for your questions. If you have any other comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the box below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, feel free to subscribe so that you can be notified when I post videos. And as always, you can follow my daily progress on Instagram. I am at blitstitch on Instagram. At any rate, I hope that you have a great week, and we will talk to you later. Goodbye.